Good evening. This is your midweek prime edition. I'm Regina, Manyara, and you're watching KBC Channel 1. Nigeria Cabinet Secretary gazettes that Friday is going to mark the last day of the holy month of Ramadan. Much more updates in the course of this particular bulletin, but first things first, the highlights. Dying for one's faith, homicide detectives discover 12 graves in controversial Pastor Mackenzie's farm.
So tungesi management ya hii hospitali, we as legislators, we want to talk to the administrator. We see if any charges can be waived so that hizi mwili ziweze kuondolewa hapa leo na zipelekwe za kwenda Nairobi ziende na za kusafiri Vihiga ziende leo hivi.
A parent's painful duty identification of student bodies takes place as government bans schools from night travel.
It is time to silence the guns in our region and continent so that we can focus on the urgent work of enabling our people to pursue opportunities and actualize their aspirations in peace and tranquility.
And President Ruto calls on Sudan to abide by IGAD resolutions. This is Prime Edition. A somber mood has shrouded the painful exercise of identifying victims of the Naivasha accident that claimed the lives of 6 students near Delamere Farm in Naivasha on Tuesday. The exercise kicked off at the Naivasha Sub-County Hospital mortuary amid claims by the survivors that the driver of the ill-fated vehicle was overspeeding. This as Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen directed that no school transport will be allowed to operate between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. commencing today.
At the Naivasha Hospital mortuary, relatives of the victims of the ill-fated matatu that killed 6 students along the Naivasha-Nakuru Highway Tuesday gathered to identify the bodies of their kin. Tears of pain flowed freely as parents, friends and school management tried to come to terms with the Tuesday afternoon tragedy.
Nilipigiwa simu na driver mwenye alikuwa anaendesha gari. Akaniambia alikuwa amebeba watoto lakini ameangusha watoto. Sasa akasema yeye yuko hospitali Naivasha. Nikamuuliza kuhusu hali ya mtoto wangu na Lindsay. Akaniambia hajui, ameambiwa tu kuna wale wamekufa na kuna wale hawajakufa.
A Nissan matatu ferrying 11 students from Bihi High School in Mbale, Vihiga County collided with a transit trailer and lost control before colliding with a lorry near Naivasha town, killing 5 students on the spot, and the 6th was pronounced dead on arrival at Naivasha Sub-County Hospital.
Wasihi tu madereva, tafadhali hasa wakati mmebeba watoto, muwe na utu. Kwa sababu tumeongea na watoto, wanasema kwamba gari lilikuwa linaenda kwa kasi sana, linatoka kwa barabara. Tunaomba tu kuwe na uangalifu kwa barabara, hasa wakati ambapo umebeba watoto. Kupoteza watoto katika umri huu ambao ndio tegemeo letu la kesho ni uchungu, ni pigo kwa shule na ni pigo kwa community ya Mbihi.
Kama tujue ni nini kabisa watu wengi wanapoteza maisha yao hii section of the road. The thing is an appeal to all road users. Please, already tumejiona hapa ni hotspot. When we are, be it the drivers, everybody who is using the road, please take extra care.
In the meantime, schools will no longer ferry students past 10 p.m. beginning tonight, following directives by the Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen.
But school transportation shall not be allowed to operate between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in line with Traffic Amendment Act 2017, Mr. Speaker, effective immediately. Mr. Speaker, all school children must be allocated seats with functional seat belts put on at all times.
Migori, raw emotions dominated the joint requiem mass proceeding for the Migori accident victims, which was held at the county stadium. Families and friends of 7 out of the 11 people who perished in the accident converged at the stadium for interdenominational prayers, which was presided over by Ruben Katiti of Anglican Church of Kenya, ACK Malindi Diocese. The body of Reverend Felix Odhiambo of ACK, his son aged 3 years, and his nephew were among the 7 bodies that were brought at the stadium for memorial service attended by Migori County Governor Ochilo Ayako, among other leaders.
That bumps must be erected on this road. When we do so, we know that the people who have accidents here, the people who suffer here, are the same people that national government belongs to and the county government belongs to.
The family is very young. Mtoto wake wa kwanza ndio anaingia form 1 this year. Please, we beg you.
Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
On the same note, members of the bicameral parliament have blamed corrupt traffic police officers and reckless border riders for the high number of road accidents witnessed in the country in the month of April. Over 26 lives have perished through road accidents in the last 3 days, and the latest along the Naivasha-Nakuru road that claimed the lives of 6 students.
Senators, while engaging on measures required to secure road users amid rising cases of road accidents, appeared to blame corrupt traffic police officers who have failed in enforcing traffic rules.
Mr. Speaker, alarmingly, the traffic department has continued to receive tips and bribes on the roads, Mr. Speaker, even when offenders are blatantly breaching the traffic rules, Mr. Speaker.
The border sector similarly was also criticized for creating disorder by ignoring traffic rules. The senators implored on the Transport Ministry to consider installing efficient camera system along key roads to capture and penalize road users who break the law.
It's amazing the impunity demonstrated by border in Nairobi. They actually just drive or ride their bicycles on the opposite side of the road. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to inform Kenyans that I am doing a comprehensive law, a bill that will bring order in border traffic.
90% of these accidents, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, are because people don't want to adhere to the rules, to the traffic rules that are already set out, Mr. Speaker. It is not for want of good laws or good traffic laws, Mr. Speaker, that we continue to have these accidents.
Similar debate was witnessed in the National Assembly, where MPs called for enhanced regulation and protection of the border sector.
These people just buy these motorbikes, they go into the roads without knowing the road uses, the safety measures on the road, and all that pertains road use. And this accounts to the high number of accidents we witness in our country, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, if you move to our respective constituencies and areas we represent, and you visit our hospitals, you will find specific wards that have been set aside for people who have been involved in accidents that are involving borders. If you walk to the police station, the traffic sections, you will find a lot of motorbikes that have been parked there that have been involved in road accidents.
The lawmakers at the same time called on contractors to ensure they allow space for pedestrians during construction of roads.
Every contractor constructing a road in Kenya must be able to provide spaces for pedestrians, must also be able to provide spaces that can allow crossing for persons with disability. And Mr. Speaker, this is a standard that we normally are shortchanged on.
Over 26 lives have perished in the last 3 days through road accidents. Among the victims are 6 students who died in a road accident near Delamere Farm in Naivasha on Monday. Gesho Kiwashira, Prime Edition.
Nothing hurts more than losing a loved one, especially a child, through such recklessness. Now, President William Ruto is imploring the two conflicting parties in Sudan to fully comply with the resolution of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development (IGAD) Heads of State Summit held last Sunday. This includes an immediate cessation of hostilities, allowing unrestricted access to humanitarian aid, and extending full cooperation to the IGAD Heads of State mission when it visits Khartoum.
President William Ruto notes a misunderstanding over the political framework agreement, which is time frame for integrating the Rapid Support Forces (RSF) into the Sudan Armed Forces (SAF) has degenerated into violent conflict in the last 5 days, leading to the loss of hundreds of lives, massive destruction of property, and the displacement of civilians.
The indiscriminate deployment of lethal power and air power by both RSF and SAF has targeted military and non-military targets, causing devastating damage to property as well as strategic public infrastructure.
The president now implores RSF and SAF to comply with the resolution of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development (IGAD) Heads of State Summit held last Sunday and allow immediate cessation of hostilities, allowing unrestricted access to humanitarian aid, and extending full cooperation to the IGAD Heads of State mission when it visits Khartoum.
The outcome of these engagements and evidence of cooperation from the two parties will be crucial to the resumption and conclusion of the negotiations on the political framework agreement.
Meanwhile, there appears to be a truce after the paramilitary group Rapid Support Force put out a tweet hoping the Sudan Army Force will commit to a complete ceasefire and abide by an armistice scheduled to last for 24 hours from today, the 19th of April 2023 at 6 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock evening on Thursday, the 20th of April 2023. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Back to the local scene, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says he will not be intimidated by opposition leader Raila Odinga's threat to take him to the ICC, saying that he is defending the president's agenda for the country's economy and attacks from the opposition will not deter him. Last week, through their legal team, Azimio wrote to the International Criminal Court asking the court to open investigations into the political situation in Kenya.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has responded to Azimio leader Raila Odinga's threat to take him to the International Criminal Court (ICC). Speaking as he launched fishing boats at Shimoni in Kwale County with the support of the European Union under the Go Blue project, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the move by Azimio leaders of writing a letter to the ICC will not inject fear in undertaking his mandate.
The president is busy. He has no time to engage you. Hiyo maneno ya Kofi Annan ukitaka uende kwa Ghana. There will be no discussions outside parliament. Because ulituomba tuzungumze, tukakubaliana na wewe, mazungumzo iko bunge. You now want to change the goalposts. Alinataka mambo ya Kofi Annan. There is no problem in Kenya. Iko shida gani Kenya?
Gachagua has criticized the opposition for opposing the bipartisan talks proposed by the president to address issues raised. The DP emphasized that the Kenya Kwanza government will only operate within the confines of the law.
Juzi huyo mzee ameingia kwa rais anasema tufanye mazungumzo, tukasema basi enda pale bunge, wabunge wako hawa wabunge wako kuzungumze. Mimi na rais tuko busy kwa hii kazi, hatuna nafasi ya mazungumzo. Sisi tuko na kazi ya kufanya.
This comes as Igembe North lawmaker Julius Taitimu termed Azimio One Kenya Alliance letter to ICC as a threat aimed at intimidating the Inspector General of Police. Speaking in Lare, Igembe North, Taitimu urged the IG not to be cowed from taking necessary action against the demonstrators who will cause chaos and destroy properties during protests.
Hiyo ni vitisho na hiyo haitalegeza misimamo ya serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ambayo inaongozwa na Mheshimiwa Samuel William Ruto rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya aliyeteuliwa halali. Kama ni handshake, itakuwa handshake ya Wakenya, handshake ya watu wale wengine, sio handshake ya Raila ya kumfaindi. Amechelewa.
Now to the north, police in Baringo have arrested bandits alleged to have masterminded behind the masterminds of the banditry attacks in the county. Loibata Kokon, who is allegedly linked to the recent attack that left one person dead and 3 others injured in Nakusoro, Baringo South, has been on the police radar. He is believed to have been hiding in Kokoron Hills and Tandare Rom, where he staged the attacks in Laikipia, Lamayawi and Baringo North.
It was the end of the road for Lobaita Kokona, hardcore and most wanted criminal who has been on the run after police in Baringo, in collaboration with the members of the public, arrested him on Wednesday. Baringo security team led by Baringo County Commissioner Stephen Kutu and Baringo County Commander Julius Kiragu said his arrest is a great milestone in addressing insecurity in the North Rift.
Atastakiwa kulingana na hiyo incident ya last week, na pia baada ya wizi wakati walikuwa narudi upande wa Tiate East waliweza kupata mzee mmoja ambaye alikuwa analima shamba yake na wakampiga risasi. Kwa hivyo pia hiyo ni count ambaye atachajiwa naye.
Tunafurahia kwamba wale ambao wamehusika tumeweza kuwanasa na wataweza kushtakiwa kulingana na sheria.
This move that this bandit or the mastermind as they are calling him has been arrested. We want to ask for more arrests of these bandits.
The arrest of the bandit is the first ever in the history of banditry in Kenya. He was arrested while donning some shorts, a lasso, a school sweater and a collar shoes. Elsewhere, security has been beefed up in Komolokon border along the West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet counties after 2 people were killed and livestock stolen by raiders.
Tuko na security ya kutosha. Tunataka tu kuambia wananchi ya kwamba wacha hii kitu ichunguzwe. Tumeona maganda yenye ilitumika hapa, kuna bunduki ambaye tuna suspect.
The security team has moved with speed to pursue and flush out bandits who have been killing and stealing livestock. West Pokot County Police Commandant Peter Katam said that the government will recruit over 200 national police reservists in Pokot South sub-county to help in restoring peace in the volatile area.
Na mimi nashirikiana na county commander ya Elgeyo Marakwet, naye wapush kutoka upande ile kuhakikisha kwamba hawa wakora wenye wako katikati hapa sisi tunaweza kupatana na hawa.
Kwa sababu huwezi panga watu kutoka Sudan primary, Segution, kama Ketoi, kama Lokon pande ile ingine, mpaka pande hii, mpaka Ngambu, ya kusignal kwamba wanaenda kurei.
Ningependa kuchukua nafasi hii kuomba Waziri Kindiki kwamba huku upande wa Kamaloko inahitaji security, na tukiomba waziri wa barabara pia, kwa sababu anatoka sehemu ya Elgeyo Marakwet, aje pia aweke pesa kwa hiyo barabara ya kutoka upande wa Tapach,
aweke security roads milima hii kila pahali.
Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition.
On that note, to take a quick breather, but we'll be back with more. Do not go away.
Nafasi yako ya kuwa mdosi wako. Jiunge na washindi tufanye biashara. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet.
So
say to make it right. 'Cause I need your arms around me every night. To me, your world.
So wewe unaweza filaje ukitoa majinga kama hayo?
Aje sasa na mimi hata si ati mmoja
wewe si? Malizia wewe si?
Utaifanya.
Huyo jamaa shikisi.
Labda commission, endelea kumpigia, eventually lazima atashika.
Relax. Itakuwa sawa. Leo itakuwa sawa. Ya Allah, Abdullah telefoni.
Welcome back. This is Prime Edition. Homicide detectives have discovered 12 graves believed to be those of followers of embattled preacher Paul Nthenge Mackenzie of the Good News International Church. The graves were discovered at an 800-acre parcel of land that is allegedly owned by the controversial pastor who is accused of practicing a cult-like faith that forced its members to fast to death. In the meantime, a starving woman was also rescued and rushed to hospital for treatment.
The graves were discovered in different areas, among them thickets near the homes of the pastor's followers, while others were hidden in hard-to-reach areas. During an operation that took almost the whole of Wednesday, one woman was rescued in a very weak state due to the intense hunger and was rushed to the Malindi Sub-County Hospital, where she is receiving treatment. The operation, led by the Director of the Homicide Division of the Director of Criminal Investigations, Martin Nyaguto, may take days to establish whether there are more graves in the sprawling forest that has been the abode of Mackenzie's followers since 2019.
Mimi ilikuwa tu tuseme mfuasi wa hii dini, lakini nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu alinitoa kabla ya mambo haya ambayo yanatendeka kwanza kufikia hivi leo yanavyotendeka.
Families of victims who are yet to know the whereabouts of their kin have asked the government to do everything possible to get their relatives.
Kwa majina naitwa Patience Zawadi, nimetoka sehemu za Marafa, na mtafuta mamangu na ndugu zangu watatu. Walikuja huko mwaka juzi. Lakini sasa nilikuwa nikijaribu kuwatafuta niseme sasa nataka kujua wako wapi, hawako wanataka nijue mahali wako. Na kufikia saa hii tumewatafuta, hatujawapata bado.
Pastor Mackenzie is being held at the Malindi police station after Malindi Chief Magistrate Elizabeth Usui Monday granted the police 14 days to hold him and 6 of his followers to complete investigations. He surrendered to police on Friday. Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
7 cases of cholera have been reported at the Thika main prison. 4 cases are said to be inactive and 3 are in isolation. The first case at the Thika main prison was first reported on the 9th of April, with the patient being referred to the Thika Level 5 hospital. Principal Secretary for Correctional Services, Mary Mothoni, however, says there is no need for alarm as the disease has been contained, with the government rolling out preventive measures in all correctional facilities.
The current outbreak of cholera started on the 19th of October 2022, which later spread across Kiambu, Nairobi, Murang'a, Kajiado, Nakuru and Uasin Gishu counties. However, in 2023, the outbreak has also been reported at the country's prisons.
You know, we are an institution that keep going in and out of our own institution. And some time ago, we had inmates who were brought here. They had infection, and finally they got to infect others.
This is the Thika main prison ward, all signs pointing to the capacity of the prison's ability to handle the health crisis. The first case at the Thika main prison was first reported on the 9th of April, with the patient being referred to the Thika Level 5 hospital. A further report being released on the 12th confirmed the need for mitigation measures, aided by assistance from Thika Sub-County Health Services.
Some of the measures that we wish to put in place is, of course, to increase the channels for water, so that we have enough water in the facility. And again, the point of decongestion that we've been talking about time in time, we've already contacted our CSO chair to see whether we can review some of the cases that do not require to be here really.
In the prison, common areas are being cleaned and affected inmates being isolated at point of entry. The disease has been relatively low in most counties, controlled through county-level actions, but certain prevailing issues may slow efforts.
The crackdown that is there on the beer, the liquor, then we may expect a number of them coming to our facilities. So for now, we may have to reduce the number that is coming in, Thika specifically, and be distributed to other stations.
The government is adamant to roll out further mitigation measures across the country to ensure safety of prison inmates and staff.
It appears the country has learned from lessons of COVID-19, the pandemic giving us vital lessons in containing emerging diseases. Alan Oko, Prime Edition.
Now off to Kisumu, where the county will benefit from a 7.5 billion shillings water and sanitation project that is expected to significantly reduce the pollution of Lake Victoria and check waterborne diseases. The project is to be undertaken by the Lake Victoria South Water Works Development Agency. It is also jointly funded by the Government of Kenya, the French Development Agency and the European Union.
Kisumu West constituency.
On Wednesday, the Lake Victoria South Waterworks Development Agency conducted a public participation forum in Korando area of Kisumu West Sub-County on a sanitation project worth 2.2 billion shillings. A committee was formed to sensitize locals on the benefit of the project, whose implementation previously stalled due to misinformation.
We want to start a project, water and sanitation project, under LV Watson, which is funded by the French Development Agency, European Investment Bank and the European Union at a tune of about 7.5 billion.
The 2.2 billion Korando sanitation component is part of the larger 7.5 billion water and sanitation project meant to upscale water distribution and improve sanitation in the lakeside city and its environs.
As you are aware, of recent times, fish in the lake, especially the cage fish in the lake, have been dying because of the pollution from the catchment areas of the lake. So this project is, we intend to implement a wastewater facility which will arrest all pollution so that it doesn't arrive at the lake.
This process will bring the social impact to the community by giving clean water to the community, hence mitigating on the waterborne diseases.
The project will significantly ease pollution on Lake Victoria. Politicians have been cautioned against hijacking the project.
I want to ask the politician to keep politics aside and let's see the project as one of the projects which will develop the area and make the area move on from other diseases like cholera.
For Prime Edition from Kisumu County, I am Wycliffe Okech.
Reports reaching us in as far as the cholera update is concerned is that 2 people have been confirmed dead, while 9 others are admitted owing to cholera there in Kisumu County. And this is according to the County Director of Public Health, Liliana Dalu. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Now, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers is demanding the immediate reinstatement of Mukumu Girls high school principal who was redeployed following a disease outbreak at the school that has left 3 students and a teacher dead. The teachers' union have termed the transfer of Frida Ndolo by the ministry an attempt to cover up a non-compliance by the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health to the Kenya School Health Policy of 2018.
Just 5 days after the transfer of Mukumu Girls High School Principal Frida Ndolo and disbandment of the Mukumu Girls Board,
we have brought in a new headmistress, principal for that school, by the name Sister Jane Bone Amukoya, with immediate effect.
the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KOPET, has come out in defense, saying that she is being used as a lamp to a systematic collapse in the Public Health Surveillance and the Ministry of Education Quality Assurance Department.
Her forcible retirement fits in a pattern where our hard-working principals are used as sacrificial lamb to assuage public anger at the whiff of any malfunction in the school system, regardless of the enormity of the situation.
Led by their Secretary General Akelo Misori, the union now says that it is high time that a long-lasting solution to be arrived at, as the Mukumu Girls High School incident is just but a reflection of challenges learning institutions in Kenya are going through.
Rather than systematically addressing an emerging epidemic, the government is engaged in a massive operation to cover up evident gaps in school health. The Cabinet Secretary for Education, Hon. Ezekiel Machogu, should convene a multi-agency team to review compliance with the Kenya School Health Policy 2018.
The union has further called upon stakeholders in the education industry to come in defense of teachers who are blamed in such situations owing to lack of surveillance and compliance by relevant government agencies.
We urge the Teacher Service Commission to defend the rights of its employees from political fiat.
This comes at a time when the proposals by a committee formed to oversee implementation of recommendations for improved sanitation to guarantee safety of children has proposed the reopening of Mukumu Girls High School to start from 2nd May, but in phases.
Kufungua kwa shule tumependekeza ifunguliwe kwa awamu, tangulia na wale wanakalia mtihani mwaka huu form 4, kifuatiwa na form 3, form 2, form 1.
As Mukumu Girls High School awaits its reopening in 2 weeks' time, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KOPET, has threatened to seek legal intervention, which will go past reinstatement of the school's principal. Frederick Parsayo, reporting for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Witnessed right here at Kigali Memorial Center, Kenyans have a lot to pick and learn, especially having in mind what happened after the 2007 general elections. But most importantly, for Kenyans to remember that regardless of the outcome of the referendum that will be on the 4th of August, we will remain Kenyans. Naisula Lesuda reporting for the news at 9, Kigali, Rwanda.
Ili kupata sikiza tuni hii ya usini record, bonyeza *811*396#.
Unakata pia kapaya wa Kenya mnakuanga nako ya kuweka mtu kwa speaker alafu mnarekodi sauti yake bila ruhusa. Nikipata sauti yangu ina trend huko nje na kuna pesa napata, mtajua mimi mlu yako na roya na sina roya binadamu. Usini record.
Ili kupata sikiza tuni hii usini record, bonyeza *811*396#.
Hapa tunakaribisha kila mtu. Shikwekwe James.
Mwanaisha au
Naiva Lombati. Hapa kuna ukweli. Hapa kuna tension.
Are you sure you're going for the 6,000?
Utaongeza ngapi? Wengi watalia. Na kuna sarakasi ya kila aina. Na hapa kuna ushindi.
150,000 Kenya shillings.
Washing machine. A school shoe brand. Na hapa ni Lotomoto. Coming to you soon. Hapa KBC.
Get us some water.
What do I do?
Maybe if we look at each file individually, tutajua ni gani na miss.
Leta your key.
Did you forget that I'm a content creator? That was a prank.
Oh.
Have you been locked outside? I have the keys.
I told you not to call me unless nifungue unanipea.
George. Where is he? Security. No need for that. Anything for you. You took her without my permission, Nick.
Kwa mimi ndio nitamlea until she comes of age.
I'm here for you, Daddy.
Thank you for watching Prime Edition. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the Kenya Kwanza government is committed to working closely with the county governments across the country in a bid to strengthen and uphold devolution. Speaking after officially opening the Deputy Governor's consultative meeting in Mombasa, where he noted that the ongoing digitization of revenue collection will play a crucial role in supporting the county heads to ensure smooth delivery of all devolved functions.
Devolution has continued to face numerous challenges as county bosses decry delays in disbursement of funds from Treasury to run the counties. Speaking during the two-day Deputy Governor's consultative meeting in Mombasa County, Nandi Governor Stephen Sang, representing the Council of Governors, urged the Deputy President to see to it that the disbursement of funds to counties is timely. Sentiments echoed by the host governor, who is also the Mombasa County Governor Abdul Swamad Nasir, who reiterated the need to plan for payments of the pending bills inherited by the counties.
We plead that you strongly advance this agenda and push to have timely disbursements of resources to counties to avoid the clipping of county operations.
Excellency will now need Treasury's concurrence. And this is now where the cohesion is going to be able to come in. That we acknowledge that there's pending bills. We can either decide to lump them aside and continuously fight, or negotiate and reduce those pending bills, pay them, inject money into the economy, and in turn, counties can be able to offset this as we are trying to get on our feet in many things.
In a bid to uphold and strengthen devolution, the county governments have been urged to work closely with the national government. According to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, digitization of revenue collection in the country will go a long way in restoring the country's economy.
What we are doing as a government is doubling our efforts in revenue collection, and we are doing that by closing all the loopholes, by digitizing revenue collection so that we close all the loopholes on tax exemption and non-collection of revenue. And I can tell you the economy has started showing good signs of recovery.
Exuding confidence in the Kenya Kwanza administration, Rigathi reiterated that the government's plan to fix the high cost of living is in motion, with unga prices already coming down.
The way to fix the cost of living is subsidizing production, putting money where it matters, in terms of fertilizer, in terms of seeds, in terms of other encouraging measures to allow our people to produce more at a less cost. That is a way in a sustainable manner that will bring down the cost of living. And I want to say with pride that we are doing extremely well. We don't expect our detractors to see it because they wouldn't see it. But what will happen, even if they close their eyes, it's okay. When they open them, they will find that unga is 159.
For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Anburu.
The Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry has put in place a program to sensitize community forest associations across the country towards restoration of forests. Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Soipan Tuye, who was responding to a question by legislators on the Plantation Establishment and Livelihood Improvement Scheme, Palace, noted that the main challenge with the scheme has been abuse and subversion of guidelines of the scheme. The CS affirmed that the maize cultivation in Palace areas had been approved by the Kenya Forest Service after the ban in 2020.
The Honorable Soipan Tuya.
Cabinet Secretary for Environment Soipan Tuya, who Wednesday appeared before the plenary sitting at the National Assembly, revealed how the ministry is planning to work with forest-adjacent communities towards restoration of forests.
We have put in place a program to sensitize community forest associations across the country in various conservancies. And we have held several meetings, the first one of which was in March of this year.
Tuya was responding to questions by Elgeyo Marakwet MP Caroline Ngelechei.
Could the Cabinet Secretary please explain the rationale behind the ban on maize cultivation in Plantation Establishment and Livelihood Improvement Scheme, that is PELIS?
And this was largely informed by the abuse and subversion of the guidelines that are supposed to guide the process of Pelis, which is a delicate process.
However, a reduction on the land under Pelis in various areas, such as Elgeyo Marakwet, with enormous land abandoned, the cultivation was recently approved by Kenya Forest Service.
The argument from the Kenya Forest Service that indeed the trend from when the ban on maize plantation was done has drastically reduced the area under Pelis within Elgeyo Marakwet County. So it is indeed a disincentive.
But the CS says stringent enforcement measures on the scheme is required to enable the country achieve its tree cover.
We need the goodwill of the communities, and particularly forest adjacent communities, for this to become a reality. As a ministry, are also planning to actively engage the CFAs in participatory forest management meetings going forward, and assisting them to come up with forest management plans that will conform to the regulations and the confines within which the Pelis practice will happen.
KFS countrywide tree cover is 2.5 million hectares, with 94% being indigenous forest and 6% commercial plantation. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
Now, Parliament having to add to repeal, or rather, yes, repeal the House standing orders to allow cabinet secretaries to appear in Parliament to ask to respond to questions posed by members of Parliament. Now, the Kadhi's Court has set up a central point at Upper Hill, Nairobi County, for the purposes of receiving, verifying, and announcing the available information regarding the sighting of the new moon to herald Eid celebrations. Speaking exclusively to KBC Channel 1, Deputy Chief Kadhi Sukyan Omar said the center will address Eid celebration prayers controversy that have characterized the sighting of the moon in the past. He also called on the faithful to participate in the search of the new moon in their respective jurisdictions and communicate the same to their respective Kadhis.
Allah. It will appear that the annual controversy that always surrounds the sighting of the new moon of Shawwal is here again. In the past, the Muslim faithful sighted a moon at different times.
But the sunnah is that the tradition is that on the 29th, which is also a possible day of the end of the month of Ramadan, we normally sit and receive information from our stakeholders, all of them.
And also mark the celebration of Eid differently. Deputy Chief Kadhi Sukyan Omar says with the setting up of the central point of communication in the country, the controversy on moon sighting could be a thing of the past.
We do the same, because that will show also transparency of how the information are received, is verified, and gain the information related to the public. Therefore, we anticipate that although this is a beginning, we anticipate that going forward, this would address issues of the people starting Ramadan differently and celebrating differently. This issue would go to address.
Omar said on Thursday, the 20th April 2023, which is the 29th day of the year of holy month of Ramadan, the National Moon Sighting Committee will converge at Upper Hill, Nairobi, at the Kadhi's Court office, which is also the central point of announcing the sight of the moon.
But all that we depend on is that I witnessed and I sighted. Therefore, let us make a deliberate effort, all of us, to look for the new crescent. And immediately that you receive, wherever that you are, communicate with your nearest Kadhi or your nearest Imam. Okay? Let the information verified at the grassroots. And then once verified to be relayed to us. You can as well also communicate with us directly. But the best thing that we prefer that you alliance with the scholars on the ground, with the imams on the ground, and with our officers, Kadhis, who are on the ground near to you.
He urged all appointed Kadhis in the 47 counties to join the National Moon Sighting Committee and pass any message regarding the sighting of the new moon to the body.
Urging that member of the public, as we process the information that get to us, verify and communicate. Obviously, we'll be communicating. Be really patient with us. Be patient. Let us not be hastened. We are fasted for 29 days. You don't have to rush. Just wait for the other day. Even if it is Ramadan, just wait.
Members of the public with any information can contact the National Sighting Committee through cell phone numbers of 0722 943 982 and 0720 424 605. The government has also declared Friday holiday to celebrate Eid.
Now, traders, especially those dealing with clothes and footwear, continue to witness increased traffic of customers as Muslims across the country prepare for Eid al-Fitr celebrations to mark the end of the holy month of Ramadan later this week. This even as most middle and lower income households struggle with high inflation, which has greatly affected this year's shopping pattern. Here's Zainab Zaid with more.
Al-Fitr is one of the largest festivals in the Muslim calendar. The celebrations mark the end of fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. As a tradition, Muslims flock shops and markets to buy clothes, footwear, foodstuffs in preparation for the celebrations. With less than 3 days remaining to mark the day, traders at the Marikiti market say financial constraints among Kenyans has greatly affected shopping patterns in regards to the once-a-year festival event celebrated worldwide.
Kulingana na sai hali ya uchumi ilivyo, watu kwenda wana pesa. Watu wanalia hakuna pesa kweli. Tukiangalia na sisi kama wafanya biashara hapa, kulinganisha Ramadhani na Ramadhani zingine zilizopita, tutakuta kidogo fadhali kidogo hii kidogo yafunga, lakini bado hajafunga sana.
The vendors decry low turnout of clients, saying many cannot afford the price rate.
Hasa kwa sasa hii tunasema kama wafanyaji biashara, bidhaa kama viazi zinatoka Tanzania, vitu vya Kenya vimekauka. Kwa hivyo utapata customer anakuja anakuuliza viazi za Kenya iko, unaambia hakuna, kwa viazi za Tanzania. Kwa hivyo naimiza wakulima wa Kenya wachukulie jambo hili la viazi kwamba ni jambo la ukulima mwaka mzima, si kwa msimu.
Biashara haikuwa kama mwaka jana ama mwaka angalau kidogo mzuri kuliko ile corona, lakini biashara ni chini sana kulingana na mwaka zilizopita kwa sababu ya pesa. Watu hawana pesa. Pesa ndo hakuna kabisa. Sasa ni vile tu wanajikamukamua, ndo saa hii wanakuja vile unaona wanajaribu kujifurahisha na hiyo kidogo ambao wako nazo.
Even as Muslim faithfuls continue to balance their shopping list to mark this most important day in the Muslim calendar, Muslim leaders have urged the privileged to extend a hand of help to the underprivileged.
Niwaombe sana Waislamu tutumie fursa ya sherehe ya Eid al-Fitr kuwakumbuka wagonjwa, kuwatembelea wagonjwa, kuwakumbuka mayatima, kuwatembelea mayatima, kuwakumbuka maskini, kuwatembelea maskini, na sio kuwatembelea tu bali kuwabebea zawadi, kusherehekea nao.
Zainab Zaid, Prime Edition.
A Garissa University official has been charged at the Garissa courts for forging academic papers to secure employment and promotion at the institution. Abdikarim Dagane Hassan was arrested by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission officers after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions gave a green light for his arrest and prosecution. He's accused of forging a business information technology degree certificate and transcripts from Mount Kenya University. This and so much more from the courts.
Appearing before Chief Magistrate H.M. Nyaberi Wednesday morning, Hassan was charged with forgery and 6 other counts. Among the charges include uttering false documents and giving false information to a person employed in the public service. He is accused of using the false certificates to apply for a master's degree course at the Kenyatta University. The suspect denied all the counts, but the university, in a letter signed by the acting vice-chancellor, Professor Ahmed Warfa, stated that the suspect had resigned in January this year and that he was not recruited using the alleged forged certificate. The matter will be mentioned on 24th of this month. Meanwhile, members of the public seeking legal expertise have been urged to be on the lookout following increased number of quacks who have been posing as advocates.
Be very cautious about this, and if this information comes up before court and if such documents are submitted, the same cannot be relied upon. So we just want to warn the banks that have been actually also working with these quacks that we are also very keen on it.
This comes after 8 people who have been swindling the public were arrested in Nanyuki in an operation undertaken by the Law Society of Kenya in collaboration with the DCI.
And we will continue ensuring that we bring back sanity to practice and matters law so that justice is protected. We've seen people lose money being conned by quacks.
We do expect that the application that has been made by the prosecution will find favor of the court so that investigations can be done up to finality.
They too were arraigned in court Wednesday, but the prosecution requested to be granted more days to complete investigations before preferring charges. Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
What am I forgetting? Nini, workers paid, rent checked, mlango locked, visiting out of the nguo mzae silitoa jana long, internet sorted. What is it? What am I forgetting?
Nini, nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto.
Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Unaweza shinda hadi milioni 2 kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number, weka 757070. Account number, weka neno Loto. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2,000. Lipa, kisha subiri draw. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLP.
It's an enclosed place. Couldn't you just hold it?
Hey, Charlie. Did you see all these people? How can you fart in public? It's so bad.
But I didn't fart. I wasn't the one who farted.
And you all laughed at me, saying I was dreaming. And I was wrong.
I agree with you now. Because half the story takes place in China.
She is.
Oh, right, Harvey. If you know any nice guys, could you please hook Charlene up with them? She doesn't have a boyfriend right now, and now that Jenny has you, she must feel very lonely.
Are you scared? It's not a big deal if they find out.
Come on, stop joking.
I want them all to know. You're the woman who captured my heart.
Good evening. It is his dream to become a community leader in his village, but the gods of Murambi, the gods that he prays to, do not seem to agree with him on this prayer item. Will his ambitions actually succeed? So tonight, on Cinemas and Theatre, we review the film When the Gods Argue. Take a look.
Evil whispering that dissuades us from our purpose.
When the Gods Argue is a film that follows Murambi, a hard-working young man
This thing's actually going to be more difficult than we thought.
who thinks he can take a shot at becoming a community leader.
Lifted ancestors, fierce protectors, and skilled healers.
However, his traditional religious beliefs stand in the way of his goals, and worse is the dysfunctional set of gods he prays to.
Evil whispering that dissuades us from our purpose.
They don't seem to agree on any of his prayer items, hence always stagnating his ambitious plans. Directed by El Biko Nyongesa, When the Gods Argue is an introspective film inspired by our regular day arguments that retrogress us as individuals.
So the setting of When the Gods Argue, the concept was inspired by that aspect of, the situation as it is right now. We argue too much over something very little. Instead of just agreeing on it, what do we need to do for this, for example, industry, sector, or project to move forward?
The film, available on Maisha Magic, features Sam Adino, Michael Munyoki, Sam Senjan, William Juma, among others.
The Kenya Theatre Awards has this system I introduced into them of archiving performances. I just went into that random selection. I was specific with my leads. I wanted people that are not names, let me say that, when it comes to the larger entertainment scene. And I wanted a mix of also people that have been there before. So it was easy to come, just speak out of an array of all these available actors, and also with heavy consultations with my producer.
Shot in Wangige for a period of 5 days, El Biko describes the production as one of the best, attributing it to the good cooperation with the crew. He, however, notes the film challenged him differently compared to his previous productions.
I've never tackled anything that brings across the politics of leadership. But When the Gods Argue also brings on board the politics of leadership, because Murambi wants to become a community leader, but this select group of church elders cannot allow him to add to the woes that the gods are not even on his case. You get it? So that was a mix that I've not done before. It was daring, and that's why I picked this concept to put it out, because I felt it will give my work traction.
Umeonyesha dhahiri kwamba haupendi njia za kisasa, haswa njia za kidini.
As a filmmaker, he notes research has often lacked in many productions, urging fellow filmmakers to incorporate more research in future productions.
For example, if you want to tell a story, an investigative story, okay, how do our investigative institutions in Kenya work? It's not just a matter of somebody, an investigative officer going out of the office, then finding out the information, then coming back and giving up the verdict and say, we have arrested this guy, he'll be jailed, right? There is a process. So we need to incorporate research into this. And you find that if we find, for example, retired DCI officers and all that, work with them as consultants, they'll give us information that is close to reality, and you'll find that it will start informing our stories. And when our stories go out into the public, they'll relate.
Filmmakers, however, continue appreciating the strides the film industry in Kenya is making.
Now you can see names you didn't see 5 years ago. That's a chance that we have improved. Also, you can see that training has come in to aid this whole scenario. We have more colleges, we have more institutions that are teaching film.
I have asked you for too many things, it seems, and you're capable of giving none of them to me.
Will Murambi triumph to achieve his goal? Will the gods ever come to an agreement?
It was father's life mission to get back on the seat. That's the only way to fulfill the legacy of our lineage.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
I hope you've had a wonderful day. We now take a look at today's business news. My name is Wairimu Jenga. Kenyan goods exported to the European Union might be required to use sea freight over air freight due to logistics and climate conscious requirements by EU authorities. Trade Principal Secretary Alfred Ombudo says many environmentally conscious retail chains in Europe are nudging exporters to use sea transport to cut on carbon. The Trade PS is urging exporters to adhere to the new requirements to increase their exports to the regional bloc.
Climate-conscious Europe is rewriting the rules of exports, demanding that exporters drop highly polluting air transport systems to sea freight. Major supermarket chains prefer to source their goods from exporters using sea-based transport. Kenya, which is a major supplier of fresh produce to Europe, is now being forced to rethink its supply chain systems. Flour and vegetable exporters have adopted a new transport mode where they will be transported via refrigerated railway containers to the port of Mombasa for onward export to Europe. Trade Principal Secretary Alfred Kumbudo says consumer-centric product export is essential to avoid the shunning of Kenyan products in the EU market.
If you trade with the EU, if you export to the EU, you really have to keep in mind that at the moment one of the most important things in the EU is the fight against climate change and sustainability.
Kenya is a major exporter of horticultural products. We export tea, we export all of those kind of things. But we are also working towards being a 21st century exporter, one that is able to add more value, and one that, even as you export, is able to live and let live so that you're able to actually green your exports.
Ombudo says sustainably produced and transported goods have a big appeal to European consumers who want authentication of goods lining their shelves.
In the EU, we got stricter measures to make sure that the climate and that anything that is produced is more sustainable. And whatever is valid for our own producers has to be valid, has to apply to everything we import as well.
Kenya has immense opportunities and capabilities to provide strong leadership in the area of our transition into the green economy. And what does that involve? From the perspective of trade and investment, it means that right from the point of production, we have to see how we are using energy. We have to see how we are using energy resources more efficiently. We have to see how our production processes are observing and complying with our own international commitments.
The new requirement is expected to shake business at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, which is Africa's busiest cargo facility. The PS further says negotiations with Europe on a new economic partnership agreement are ongoing and will be concluded soon.
We are currently exporting and having a trade relationship with the EU that's based on a market regulation, but we want to conclude this so that we have a durable instrument that facilitates two-way trade.
Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
Kenya is in talks with Germany to secure jobs for those training in technical, vocational and educational training institutions. German ambassador to Kenya, Sebastian Groth, says the first phase will target skilled Kenyans in the fields of hospitality and automotive industry. Here's Nduta Mukami with the details.
Unemployment remains a key challenge in Kenya, and the youth are the most affected, with data indicating that about 40% of those unemployed are those below the age of 30. To secure job opportunities for the Kenyan youth, the government is in talks with Germany to facilitate labor movements from Kenya.
There's a lack of skilled labor in some of the very important fields like automotive industry, logistics, hospitality, in the social sector in Germany, and we are in the process of reforming our immigration laws in order to facilitate skilled immigration to Germany. Of course, not only from Kenya, but from other places as well.
Under the deal, youth trained at technical, vocational and educational training institutions will be prioritized, with those with hospitality skills being among the first batch to benefit.
We are entering the second phase where we will support the Kenyan government to build up another 60 TVET institutions all over the country, and we are right now in the process of identifying the locations and also the specifications of these TVET institutions.
The government has started the process of upgrading 7 TVETs to centers of excellence in the fields of automotive and vocational skills.
Our call to government is to allow assessment and certification of skills across the country on an ongoing basis. It would also be very good if the certification process can be consolidated.
Director for Housing Jane Mwangi says the technical and artisan courses will help to achieve the housing project of 200,000 houses annually, as it is projected by the government.
What they are doing is actually going to benefit the affordable housing program greatly in terms of providing us with the artisans and the foodies that we require for the construction of the houses.
Nduta Mukami, Full Prime Edition.
The government will begin construction of 3 footbridges along Mombasa Road in Nairobi County on Thursday next week. Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Infrastructure, Kipchumba Murkomen, says 1.2 billion shillings has been disbursed to commence construction of the footbridges at the Southern Bypass Interchange, Syokimau Railway and Katani Junction to minimize, or rather to ease, pedestrian crossing. Since the completion of the 27.4-kilometer Nairobi Expressway 2 years ago, Mombasa Road has become impassable due to lack of non-motorized infrastructure and potholes endangering the lives of Kenyans and motorists using the road. This has been worsened by the heavy downpour, making it hard for pedestrians to cross the road due to flooding and drainage challenges. Although the government says a contractor is on site, repair works are yet to start. Appearing before Parliament today, Cabinet Secretary for Road and Infrastructure Kipchumba Murkomen says plans are underway to erect footbridges along Mombasa Road lower deck at a cost of 1.2 billion shillings. The footbridges will take 30 months to complete, saying works will commence in a week's time, where footbridges will be erected at the Southern Bypass Interchange, Syokimau Railway and Katani Junction to minimize road traffic accidents, ease traffic flow and pedestrians crossing.
The works are scheduled to commence on 27th of April 2023 with contract completion date of 26th October 2025. This is a 30-month contract period comprising of 18 months completion period and 12 months defect liability period.
He said due to budget constraints, only 3 footbridges will be constructed as opposed to 5 that was discussed during the public participation exercise.
It was agreed that there was essence of 5 footbridges. The population and because of the public safety in that stretch from Mulolongo to Hilton Garden.
In the next phase, of course, Mr. Speaker, finances permitting, we shall increase the number of the footbridges.
Horticulture exports say revenue could be as much as 150 billion shillings this year due to projected good rains. Fresh Produce Consortium Chief Executive Officer Ojepat Osigere says the European market has started to open up, which when coupled with a strong dollar will result into good revenue.
Last year, horticulture sales declined by 12 billion shillings from 133 billion shillings in the year 2021. The 9.7% drop in sales was as a result of the prolonged drought and political activities in the country. This year, farmers will earn more as the exporters predict horticulture sales in the international market to increase to more than 150 billion shillings due to the strong dollar and above average long rains in some parts of the country.
Shooting beyond the last year we fell, but because of the weather patterns and the political environment around. This year we are looking at going beyond 150 billion, and we're looking at growing by about 10 to 15% growth in the horticulture industry.
Exporters also want the government to expedite value-added tax refunds to horticulture companies, amounting to over 5 billion shillings.
To ask the government of Kenya to ensure that they pay VAT refunds to our members to enable them to be in operation, expand their operations, and be able to increase the foreign exchange that comes into this country.
To support the horticulture sector, Absa Bank says it will lend horticulture exporters 1.3 billion shillings to shield them from forex fluctuations.
Recently, we announced a partnership with Eco Business Fund, which has provided us with a $10 million facility. That's about 1.3 billion shillings that we're committing to on lend into the agricultural value chains, and horticultural value chain is a key segment that we're looking to commit some of that money.
The Exporters Consortium further say the avocado market in Europe remains strong.
It's not an interception. What has been seen in the market, this was in Denmark. It was not a produce that was packed in Kenya. This produce was packed in Netherlands, though it is said produce of Kenya, but packing was packed in Netherlands.
Benson Droba reporting for Prime Edition.
Now to stories in our corporate briefs. Family Bank has secured a portfolio guarantee facility from the FSD to increase its loan book to those in the dairy value chain. The 2-year credit guarantee facility will support the purchase of fodder, concentrates, minerals, artificial insemination services, propagation of feeds, among others, dairy industry inputs. Here are the details of that story and more.
With milk being primarily produced by smallholder dairy farmers who account for 56% of total output to make up to 14% of Kenya's GDP, the 2-year credit guarantee facility between Family Bank and FSD will facilitate the purchase of key dairy inputs. Family Bank CEO Rebecca Mbidi says the dairy value chain has been impacted by drought and high cost of animal feed. The deal comes on the backdrop of a similar deal worth 1 billion shillings between the lender and performator to support dairy cooperatives in acquisition of fodder when drought was raging, and with Nduberi Dairy Farmers Cooperative Society to increase availability and access to good quality fodder to 1,000 dairy farmers. Meanwhile, wheat and maize flour miller Kitui Flour Mills has diversified its portfolio to edible oil making as part of its expansion strategy. The miller says the launch of the edible oil to be manufactured in Kilifi County has spurred the local economy with creation of jobs at the company's Vipingo-based plant.
It's a product we've come up with different kind of brand, and it's a product we believe it's add values to those who wants to buy something at a higher price. But we also have a product which is affordable. We've played our part. We are trying as in different and many ways we can as a company, just to see how much more we can do to our brothers and sisters in this country.
Finally, in Migori, the county government, in partnership with the Kenya National Farmers Association, has embarked on registration of farmers into various value chain clusters. Officials say the clusters will help secure the right numbers and census for various farmers who engage in different value chains.
The idea is to have an accurate, up-to-date database of our farmers. And as you know, farming is a fluid exercise. You may have profiled a farmer today and they tell you they are growing maize. In the next season, that farmer has changed and they are growing groundnuts. What we need to have is a living database that tells us who are our farmers, where they are, and what they are growing.
The world is going the value addition way. When we want to add value, there must be enough quantity of a specific product that can be added value, because we will be using machines and the rest, and we also have the amount which are required in the value addition factories.
Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
That is where we put a cap on tonight's business news, but you can find more stories on our website at kbc.co.ke. My name is Wairi Mujenga. Up next is Daniel Wahome with the sports update.
Biggest odds in the world every day on selected matches. Make a decision. Mozart Bet.
I want to ask you, am I a doctor or which class am I am indeed? So na nikieleza hii mahakama, wewe kwa hiyo kampuni unanitakanga na nguvu, nikakataa ndio ukakuja kuniekelea mambo ya hii madawa. Ndafanya naeleza mahakama ulao. Sema tu kweli, sema tu. So mpaka sasa yule nichekesha, but I don't need you. You know that. Sema kweli ndio mama.
Yeye wanataka kivipi?
Ananitakanga na nguvu mwisho.
Kama nini?
Hapo ndio ule uingiliaji wa karani uliingia. Mimi ni karani. Officially written by the government. I am on salary.
Kawera wako mara unanimaliza Kawera, unanimaliza.
Imbi.
Mzee.
Kosiroli
anakumaliza na nini?
Na wewe nakuuliza, kuna mahali nimekutipu?
Hapana.
Hakuna. Kuna mahali nilikutunga shindano?
Hapana.
Hakuna. Kuna mahali nilikuadmit?
Hapana.
Hakuna, si ndio? So what do you want from me?
Mimi hakuna kitu.
Unataka nini kutoka kwangu?
Hakuna kitu mimi nataka.
Thank you. Then walk out.
Sawa sawa.
News is brought to you by Mozart Bet.
Kurumisha ndege. Aviator instant game. Be a daring pilot and earn by how much high you can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. Another day for fast running, and Ferdinand Omanyala wins his second Athletic South Africa Grand Prix in Jamestown, and this time in 10.05 seconds. And here is a report.
Keep an eye as well for Cheswell Johnson.
Running in his second race of the season in South Africa, Ferdinand Omanyala dominated the field to win the men's 100 meters in 10.05 seconds. His compatriot, Samuel Imeta, took second place in 10.22 seconds.
They're away first time, and it's Cheswell Johnson that's flying out of the blocks, but Omanyala starts running now. There's no one chasing him, but look at Samuel Imeta, the other Kenyan on the inside. Omanyala strides away from them into the line. Look at the time, just misses that 10-second barrier and proves once again that he is the dominant figure in sprinting on the continent. Omanyala wins, but the time remains elusive.
Earlier, Wiseman Were took third place in the men's 400-meter hurdles in 49.78 seconds. He finished behind Zazini Sokoswana and Komerana Tisang of Botswana.
So much control, so much.
The next stop for Ferdinand Omanyala is the Botswana Golden Grand Prix. Now, the burial of Kenya Volleyball Federation President and the National Olympic Committee of Kenya's second Vice President Waithaka Kioni took place in Kiamwangi, Gatundu, Kiambu County. Kioni passed on 1 week ago in Nairobi after a short illness. The late volleyball supremo also served as CAVB Vice President after defending the seat 2 years ago. Sport administrators from different federations attended the burial.
Wednesday morning at Kiamwangi, Gatundu, Kiambu County, thousands of mourners showed up to bid farewell to one Kenyan sports icon, Waithaka Kioni, who passed on 9th April after a short illness. The family eulogized him as the best dad, who was always there to motivate and encourage them.
He was unmatched. He always looked for opportunities to bring us together and celebrate the children's milestones, taking us to exotic places and providing for us.
I'm deeply grateful that I had the opportunity to work with you. It was a revelation of what discipline, dedication, hard work, and commitment means.
Africa Volleyball Federation President Butcher Ajij described the late Kioni as a unifying force that guided the CAVB executive in the right direction. The late volleyball supremo served as the CAVB Vice President after defending the seat 2 years ago. Sports administrators from different federations also attended the burial.
Lasting impact, more so in the growth of the administration department, which is steered to become one of the most dynamic and well-structured among government parastatals.
We have lost a father figure, we have lost a real trailblazer. Mr. Kioni was a great innovator, and there are very many routes he took, a lot of gambles he took, which actually later bore fruit.
Daniel Mwendwa, Prime Edition Sport.
And condolences to the sporting family. Now, Kenya under-20 rugby team has stepped up training before taking on Uganda on Saturday in their opening game of this year's Bates Trophy. The 9-day event will be held at the Nyayo National Stadium, and this is between the 22nd and the 30th of this month.
The Kenya Rugby Under-20 national team is optimistic they'll produce a good results in the upcoming Bathurst Under-20 Trophy tournament that will kick off on Saturday at Nyayo National Stadium.
Been training for this tournament, and we are mentally and physically ready for this tournament. Last time we were able to finish third place. We lost to Namibia, but this time we are coming all out to ensure we go all the way to the finals.
The team held their last training today at KCB grounds under the watchful eye of Coach Katiza Lowatch before heading to camp at Weston Hotel.
We are playing on Saturday against Uganda at 4:30 in the evening. We made the same team last year, the first game. So they've also been training hard. We beat them last year, but we are leaving nothing into chance. So we are training hard and putting our team together.
Hosts Kenya will start their campaign on Saturday when they take on Uganda in the opening match of the tournament.
Everyone here is motivated to play their best, especially because we have JWRC coming up this summer. So I think just the knowledge of that will push us because we know what we're fighting for.
Kenya finished third in the last year's tournament held in Nairobi.
We have actually 4 returning players. That's me, Shkul, Laban, and George. The rest, most of them are from high school. Others are playing nationwide, some Kenya Cup, some of them championship. And now the good thing is we have a good coach. The technical base is very good. Katis and the rest. We've been working under fatigue, pushing each other every day, every evening. And actually, what I can promise you is that on Saturday, the boys are going to show up.
For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Sela Onyango.
Now, defending champions Tusker FC registered their 16th win of the season after beating Wazito FC 2-0 in a Football Kenya Federation Premier League catch-up match played at the Ruaraka grounds. Meanwhile, Football Kenya Federation's Leagues and Competitions Committee has awarded Kakamega Homeboys maximum points from their abandoned league match against AFC Leopards played at the Buhungu Stadium on Sunday.
The Brewers scored the opening goal through Eric Otieno in the 12th minute. Lawrence Luvanda scored the second goal in the 27th minute to hand the defending champions maximum points. The win moved Tusker FC to the top of the log with 54 points, 1 point ahead the former champions Gor Mahia, who are placed second. In another match, Police FC trounced Vihiga Bullets 4. Meanwhile, Football Kenya Federation League and Competition Committee has awarded Kakamega Homeboys maximum points from their abandoned league match against AFC Leopards at Bukungu Stadium. The match was abandoned on the 31st minute due to ground trouble. AFC Leopards has also been docked a further 3 points from the already accumulated points. The club shall play their next 4 matches behind closed doors and pay a fine of 500,000 shillings. Meanwhile, disciplinary proceedings will be opened by FKF Disciplinary Committee on Coach Patrick Ausims and Lawrence Wembo for their conduct during the match.
Now, the Mr. and Miss East African Natural Bodybuilding Contest 2023 committee has urged Kenyans to not only use bodybuilding as a way of competition, but also utilize it as a mental fitness tool. Speaking during the launch of the second edition of the Mr. and Miss East African Natural Bodybuilder Contest, which will be held in the month of October, the association encouraged bodybuilders to turn up for the event, which will attract the highest prize money of 3.5 million shillings for the winner. The event will be held in Eldoret, and contestants are to attend in large numbers and register for the contest that has been dubbed as a fitness awareness event. Kenya bodybuilders, in conjunction with health workers in Uasin Gishu, said there is need to have every person develop a mechanism of fitness to avoid stress and related lifestyle diseases, making sure they keep fit.
There was quite improvement in terms of numbers, and even within the nation we managed to sort like different participants and organizers. They managed to organize different bodybuilding events across the year.
The only challenge that we bodybuilders get is support. Bodybuilding is a very expensive sport. We need more support, especially when it comes to nutrition and supplementation.
I was number 5, and that really keeps me going now, and I've really changed from what I was told. It is like a guideline. I've just what you said. It keeps me going, and I really focus on what I was told, and I'm really working on it.
Now, across our borders, Devin Booker starred as the Phoenix Suns overcame an opening defeat to beat the Los Angeles Clippers 123-109 in the second home game of the playoff series. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Cavaliers bounced back after losing their opener at home to the New York Knicks, leveling the series 1-1 with a convincing 107-90 victory.
Match again.
Well, let's move on. And Emma Raducanu's first clay court match of the season ended in a one-sided defeat by former French Open champion Jelena Ostapenko in the ongoing 2023 Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart. The British #1 struggled to deal with ferocious hitting from the Latvian and lost 6-2, 6-1 in 59 minutes, having reached the quarterfinals of the event last year. Raducanu's exit means she will drop down the rankings to position 68. Ostapenko will play Tunisia's third seed, Ons Jabeur, in the last 16.
Spiel, Ostapenko.
Very comfortable hold indeed.
Well, and that's a sport for tonight. Thank you for being with us. Remember to join us tomorrow. More sports that we'll be talking about reactions from Ferdinand Omanyala's Athletic South Africa Grand Prix 2. What was his reaction? What's his feeling ahead of Botswana? That and also the build-up to the Bartes Cup that starts on Saturday. Kenya against Uganda, 4:30 p.m. at the Nyayo National Stadium. My name is Daniel Wahome. Thank you for being with us. Back to Regina Manyara.
Quick one, Wahome now.
Sports News was brought to you by Mozart Bet.
Nafasi yako ya kuwa mdosi wako. Jiunge na washindi tufanye biashara. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet.
Week Prime edition to a close. We want to remind our brothers and sisters, Muslim faithfuls, that the Qadhi's court have asked, have set up a central point in Upper Hill, Nairobi for the special sighting of, the moon that marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan, ushering the Eid al-Fitr celebrations. The faithful, Muslim faithful, have been asked to participate in the search for the new moon. Now to matters sports, Wahome, before we let you go. After that performance by the greatest of all time, that is Eliud Kipchoge, is he going to be hanging his boots? That's one. Then secondly, I'd want you to make the predictions of Friday's match between Manchester City and Arsenal. To you.
Okay, let me start here. Manchester City and Arsenal. Manchester City. Manchester City are playing in the FA Cup semis this weekend. So let me not talk about British football. Now, Eliud Kipchoge. Well, he has made there are two things that came up. One is his social media posts, where he says at times things don't go your way, but you've got to accept them. So he held out. But he says that while going through his run in the Boston Marathon at 30 kilometers, he suddenly felt that he couldn't keep his cadence. That means that his leg, he basically couldn't roll as he would wish. So he felt the pain and all he could do was hold out. And at one point he dropped to 8th. Eventually he finished 6th in the Boston Marathon. And he says he'll be back in Boston. And there's a little story behind it. No able-bodied athlete has won all 6 major marathons in cities. So that's one thing that I know Eliud Kipchoge would like to achieve. Yes, so that's what we should be looking out for. He's not going to hang up his spikes yet.
Thank you for that information. That puts a cap on Martin's Prime Edition. I've been your host, Regina Manyara. I wish you a pleasant evening ahead.